Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. One of the scribes came to Jesus and asked him, "Which is the first of all the commandments?" Jesus replied, "The first is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." The scribe said to him, "Well said, teacher. You are right in saying, He is one, and there is no other than He, and to love Him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is worth more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." And when Jesus saw that he answered with understanding, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And no one dared to ask him any more questions. The Gospel of the Lord. Yeah, if you were struck by the way this passage drew to a close, then you were paying attention, okay? So you have here, what do we have? No one dared to ask him any more questions. Why? What is going on here? What has he said? Jesus said something that I say in almost every homily. But no one dared to ask him any more questions. I mean, I've tried it, right? And people still keep asking me questions. So I don't know. I'm missing some of the magic here, I think. But no, there's something much more profound going on here. We have to catch the end of this. We say scribe, scholar of the law, his lawyer, if you will, but I won't say that today. It's worth more. What is it? Jesus says these are the commandments of greatest importance, and the scholar repeats to him what he has said in his own little paraphrase. And he said that's worth more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. That's the deadly line. That's the deadly line. Because, of course, everything in Jesus' day goes through the temple. And that is the God-established location for the offering of sacrifices. That's the place where the people give God, or meant to give God, right-worthy praise. And so when the scholar repeats to Jesus what he had said and adds that line on, everybody around realizes what's going on. And quite frankly, they don't want to be caught in the middle of it. Because if Jesus is going to face off against the temple, he's facing off against everybody. The power brokers, not just the power brokers of his day, the rulers of his day, the people who managed the temple and the temple regime. If he's going to take on the temple, he's going to die doing it. And that's exactly what happens. But people know what's coming when they say that, when this scribe offers that back to him. What is going on then? What is going on beneath the surface, right? And hardly beneath the surface, but Jesus... Jesus' prophetic action in the temple, which at least we remember from Sunday, was itself a declaration that the temple, which was meant to be the beating heart of Israel, had become corrupt. And so instead of pumping God's love throughout the land, instead of drawing people to God to offer right-worthy sacrifice, to offer him praise and worship, and then driving them out into their own locales to bring his love to life. No, and now the heart has become infected and only pumps corruption through the land. And when Jesus then pushes on this renewal movement, he's bound to run up against what was meant to be the place of renewal for all of Israel. That's what the temple was supposed to be. if it draws out of Israel proper, full-hearted, full-minded praise of God, worship of God, such that they can fulfill this prayer that they pray 3 times a day. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Pray it every day. The temple was meant to be a tool to bring about that reality, that they can do this. They will have hearts for this. But the temple, being a place of corruption and pumping corruption through all of Israel, simply bent them on their own purposes, their individual, their selfish purposes, and then, of course, the selfish purposes of the nation as a whole. So if Jesus is pushing up against the corrupt temple, he's also offering in himself what the temple was meant to be. And in place of the corrupt temple with pumping corruption through all of Israel, we have Jesus with his human heart, with his sacred heart, becoming a source of revitalization and renewal according to the plan and purpose of God, that the temple was always meant to be, embody. But now Jesus in himself. So here is this, right? If Jesus is taking the place of the temple, then, as the scribe says, love is the agenda. And if we can do this, then this is worth more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices. This love of God and love of neighbor as self, is worth more than all of the rest of the activity that's going on. Because the activity is a means to that end. It's a means to that end. Now, this is where it's a little challenging for us to talk about means and ends, but I can say that what Jesus lays out here, is the human project. This is what we were always meant to be. It's worship and it's mission. It's hearts and lives totally centered on God, and living for all things at every moment of our day, living for Him, giving ourselves over to Him, living in His service, bringing His love to life. Every moment of every day. Now, when I say that, sometimes we're inclined to think, that feels like too much. That feels like a great burden. I don't want to love the person in front of me every moment of every day. Okay? If that's where you are, fine. Be honest with yourself at least, right? That you don't perhaps feel up to the task. What I'd say is that Jesus came to turn our lives inside out, such that the more we do that, the more we realize that we're participating in the greatness of God's love for us. We're unburdened by our ego and self-seeking, and this is what we were made for. I wouldn't want to do anything else. This is exactly right. So there's even in the kind of I realize that that's a heavy lift, and I don't know that I can do it. Fine, because Jesus is the one who wants to accomplish it in you. And He's the one that you have to lean on in order to do it. But the more you do it, the more you realize, in fact, yes, this is what I was made for, and this is what then I find joy in doing. And this is, again, you can start to hear the Spirit-led life. Love, joy, peace, patience. This is what we want. Right? But we're burdened. We're burdened. So now, what can I say then, my friends? All of our religious activity has to point to the renewal of my heart, the renewal of the human project. All of our religious activity has to point to love. All of it. All of it. There's no merit in spinning our wheels elsewhere. It doesn't get us where we need to go. But this does. And Jesus, like laying out that mission statement for us, love of God, neighbor as self, he knows very well where we are. He knows, as we heard on Sunday, he knows what human nature is. He knows it very well. And that's why God has come out to get us. That's why God has come out to walk this way and pioneer this way so as to make it possible for us. Otherwise, it's just activity, activity, activity. We're never going anywhere. But we have to realize today that faith, our faith, the church, the whole thing is about seeing Jesus walk that way, seeing Jesus pioneer that path. Love of God with wholeheartedness, whole mind, whole strength, everything for God. He lives it, and neighbor as self. And he invites us to join him on that way. Our faith is to go with him. Our faith is to trust him and to follow him. And so realize in ourselves now the promise of the temple, God dwelling with man. To realize in ourselves the blessing of God, that we are made to be a blessing for his world. And we come here then to make this act our own, to entrust ourselves to God, to commit ourselves to him, to love the Lord our God with our whole heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And if we feel the gap, we're in good company. It's like, if you feel the gap, you're in good company. But we have to keep pressing on to the end. Because Jesus wants the renovation of our heart, our whole heart, holding nothing back. He wants every aspect of our heart, every aspect of our life. My friends, we want to give it to him. And today is our next step on that journey towards that life of self-gift, again, that he has pioneered and that he makes possible for us.